The following podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. While we aim to provide helpful insights, listeners and viewers should seek their own independent legal advice for specific issues or concerns. Neither the host nor any guests can be held legally responsible for any decisions or actions taken based on the content of this podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Housing Sector Podcast. Today I have Insley from CoSil Solutions, and we're going to talk about mediation. Mediation it's not a hidden art, it's not a dark art, but it's certainly one that I feel is underused in the sector. And we really need, as the housing sector says, we need to bridge that gap between tenants and providers. And mediation, it's so underused. Insley, I'm no one to talk about it, but you are. Would you like to give us a quick introduction about yourself?
Yeah, hi, Ben. Thank you for having me. I'm Insley Ettienne, a property consultant and mediator. I am the founder and director of CoSil Solutions. I have over 20 years experience in social housing and property dispute resolutions. I specialize in property mediation, helping landlords, tenants, housing associations, developers, and property managers resolve dispute efficiently and cost effectively. What more should I say? Why it matters for mediation? Mediation provides service that help resolve disputes without going to court, saving clients time, money, and stress. The common issues I address in the day-to-day is where I work with tenants involving arrears, lease contracts, lease dispute, contractual disputes, property management, landlord-tenant disagreements, anything to do with a tenancy stroke lease is which I help facilitate conversations on with landlords and the freeholders, tenants alike. Beyond mediation, I offer consultancy in training and compliances based on practices and leasehold matters, just ensuring our clients are legally sound and well prepared. Although I do not provide legal advice, I'm legally trained. So I can then facilitate conversations to help you navigate your issues.
And I will make sure at the beginning there we have our legal disclaimer that says any information within this podcast is advice only and should not be taken as legal advice. Okay, so are you employed by the sort of housing associations before they go to legal route? So we've got a difficult tenant or we've got an issue, we'd like you to come in and perhaps talk people through, bring us together?
Sometimes I get there before, sometimes I get there when the matter has gone to court and the leaseholder may find out about me and said, actually, can we do mediation? And we pull out of court and I then facilitate the conversations. And in 85% of the time, we come to an agreement outside of court. So there's nothing documented publicly for the freeholder to say, well, we had a case against you and this is what happened. So I'm going to take a case against you as well. So the matters are dealt with outside of court. Contracts are drawn up. It cannot be used in court unless both parties agrees to use it in court. So yeah, mediation has been the court has actually agreed that mediation should be the first stage before going through the long lengths of legal battles in court. And as you know, the battles can be very strenuous on each other mentally and financially.
Yeah. Now, and this is something, I try and keep the two platforms separate. I'm a Green Square Accord resident who's had my own battles, and that's well documented on this other website, the Green Square Accord resident support site, and my housing sector website. I try and keep the two separate, but I've been through the process and mediation wasn't used, and I couldn't help but feel that it was never supposed to go to court. The court action, the legal threat, it was all just a threat to stop me. Are there housing associations who do that and then you get called in to mediate?
I don't think the housing associations intend to threaten leaseholders and tenants. Is the procedures in which they follow where mediation is not part of. And that's something I believe they are taking on board now let's go through the mediation book. Let's have a neutral conversation with the leaseholder or tenants to understand their core problems. And it's something that most companies are now taking on board and being made aware of that's available. And when you don't know something is available, you don't know how to find the source them and use them.
Yeah.
And knowing that my services and other services are there, is becoming more aware that, okay, well, mediation is something like we could use. Let's have a conversation. We call a person in, have a discussion, understand the disputes, and try and iron it out without going to court.
So if we take a hypothetical, so someone's had an ongoing complaint issue, the complaint hasn't been resolved, and then this is looking like it's going to go to court. You're coming in to offer mediation. How does that look to a tenant? Because again, if I'm being called into the head office of a landlord to sit there in their boardroom with their legal guys, their heads of department, that would be very intimidating. How does it work?
That's not how it works at all. If I was to be called in to act as a neutral party for both sides, there is no legal part, no legal boards around, just myself and anyone who are deemed to be an expert to help understand the scenario in which the tenant is dealing with. For example, if the tenant claimed there is a breach or they have paid the service charge, but the increase has not been explained or has not been served correctly, I would then seek the information from the party in who I represent and make sure that it has been complied with and direct the tenant to show them an understanding of how it works and why it was charged that way. If there's a discrepancy, I seek consent from the housing associations or local authority of my remit. What can I do to negate the problem and close the matter? If it means that we write off a cost, we write off cost. If it means that we have made an error, we apologize and rectify such.
And how is it that, because housing is so emotive, what do you, what happens to the sort of residents that are coming in so angry and so upset? How do you work with those people?
As I've said, I've got experience in working in social housing. Dealing with upset tenants, leaseholder, is actually the ways to be calm back and them understanding why they're upset, what got them to the stage of being so angry against an association. It's just it could be a simple misunderstanding where
Yeah.
either party has something in both. So it's understanding the core issue. What caused us to be here today? How can I help you? And what would a resolution look like for you? If you want us to help you understand your tenancy agreement, why you're being charged this, why is there an increment each year? Let someone who is competent in the area sit with me and explain that to me before, these are the things that can de-escalate such situations of anger from tenants, stakeholders, on a day-to-day basis in housing. It's misunderstanding. No clear guidance is given. So there's anger build up. You ask me to pay some money, but you not explain to me why. Why do I have to pay this fee? So that's the reason why 90% of them are irritated and angry and have no faith in housing associations or local authorities. Misunderstandings.
And if I was to call you, if I was to say, I'm just not getting through to my housing association, they're just not listening, I don't want to go to court, but I can't see any other way, or I've been through the housing ombudsman, I've been to the regulatory of social housing. If I came to you as a resident and said, I need help with mediation with my housing association, how would that work?
I will go through the process of mediation. Has to be both parties have to want to be in mediation, has to want mediation. So what have you done so far? Have you instructed them of your claim? Have you made a complaint? Has the complaint been responded to? I will give you the questions in which you have to answer yourself. I cannot answer those for you, but I will guide you the process and the structure and how mediation works. And if it's something that becomes, oh yes, we both want to do it, I will then guide you through the process and come on board to support both sides neutrally. And the agreement will be drafted on the day. Usually mediation takes half a day to a whole day, depends on the complexity of the matter. The court mediation takes half an hour where you're already gone to court, so you know what the issues are, and we just ask the relevant questions. Are you willing to settle? No cost, no fees? Yes, no, and then take it from there. But in-house mediation is more in-depth. We look at the core matter. What is the core issue? And break it down and try to get to a resolution at the end of the day.
And do you find that some housing associations are more receptive to others?
I think, again, going back into not knowing, not understanding what mediation is. When people hear mediation, they don't think, oh, let's deal with it because we have a matter with service charge, tenant arrears, or damp issue, disrepair matter. It's, oh no, they have a legal team, so they just go to the legal team, and the legal team highly likely just proceed the matter, issue a claim form, and go to court.
Yeah.
And again, when you go to court, the court will say, are you open for mediation? If both parties says yes, then they will go through the court mediation process again, which is good. but it's not as effective as doing it around the table with the tenant or leaseholder, explaining the core issues, seeing the, and just going through the matter and asking the questions, navigating the conversation, where you both understand on a neutral basis where you could form an agreement.
See, I think the stumbling block for my route from mediation was that my housing association that I'm a tenant with, there wasn't anything that they could really say because everything had been upheld. So there were issues, they weren't being resolved. There wasn't anything they were going to do, and they just wanted me to stop complaining and stop putting it online. And when I said, well, no, we need to get to the bottom of where the issues. And the judge said, the housing ombudsman first said, you need mediation. They didn't engage, they ignored that. The judge twice said mediation, and they've not engaged and continue to sort of push back with this legal action. Where's the mindset there? How can we overcome this sort of hurdle that of he said, she said, and we're not getting involved?
Potentially, it's a matter of shifting and training, shifting of the mindset of how things used to be. When we have an issue with a tenant or a leaseholder, the first thing we do is issue a claim form to the courts and let the legal process take its course. But now there's avenues in which we can facilitate conversations, a structured space for dialogue between both parties to prevent legal action. And I believe most social housing or housing professionals are becoming more aware of mediation now. So the system should have changed over the years or are changing going forward, where they are aware of the service of mediation. Both independent mediators and myself is available, and there is the first tier tribunal, the court system. Everyone offers mediation as the first port of call. Unless there's over complexity in some disrepair matter that cannot be resolved by a mediation, I strongly suggest mediation is the first port of call before any litigation is considered.
Oh, it's good to talk, as we say, which will probably end up being the title of this podcast. And so much can be resolved through communication.
Yes.
There was a legal battle this week, and we're recording this on the 13th of February. It'll be a few weeks before it goes out live. Clarion Housing Association has been taken to court, and there was, and I don't want to get into the details of it because it's not fair, and we don't have them to hand. But there seems to be a whole sort of discrimination case going on there that they've had to they've now lost in the court. I don't even really have a question there. It seems such an outdated process, this court action, and the fact that we are stuck, as I used to say, we're stuck in a relationship with our housing provider, and it becomes like a divorce that you can't get divorced from each other.
I'm aware of. Well, I saw a clip of that case in which you referred to, and mediation could have played a critical role in preventing this dispute from escalating to court. Avoiding both financial and reputational damage for both Clarion and housing. So, again, early intervention, preventative action could have prevented it from going to escalate to the matter in which it has done, because from what I've cited, the cost in which they've damages does not even include their legal fees. So they have incurred a lot of legal costs on that matter plus damages. And that could have been provided by having mediation, which provides a structured space for dialogue. And it bridges the gap in communication between both parties.
Yeah.
So they could have saved a lot of time, resources. The resources in which was used to go through the lengthy process could have been used elsewhere to resolve another issue.
Once the legal wheels are spinning, then that stops a lot of other things that they could be doing to resolve issues and work. Have you got many examples of that?
In my day job, if I'm dealing with a court matter, there's another matter. We have our hats on multiple heads. So dealing with a court matter, which, for example, as what we just spoke about, it takes up a lot of time. You have to pause, give a hold and response to someone because this is more important right now, because I have to be sure that the evidence is there and to present such into the court. So having prevented those and having a person have a conversation over the phone, have a one-to-one, a meeting, or just doing an inspection to see, what has been said has been correct, and taking it from there, that could have prevented a lengthy court battle in which they have had.
Yeah. And I'll make sure all your links to your website and whatnot are here so people can contact you. But it is something that, so residents themselves could contact you.
Yes.
And then,
but as I said, For it to be successful in mediation, all parties has to be willing to take part in it. It's not only I cannot take favor on the resident side opposed to
No.
the housing association. It have to be a mutual agreement.
Housing associations, though, would be fools not to sort of go, okay, well, we've got this option available to us. This is a tool we've not considered. Perhaps this could stop us from taking so and so to court and further damaging our reputation and the relationship between the resident and the provider.
That's correct. And I believe things will change in the near future because everyone is becoming more aware of mediation. It's there in county courts, it's there in the first stage tribunal. I'm out there championing mediation every day on my social platforms. So I believe it's becoming more aware. People is like, oh, I never heard of mediation before, but now seeing the benefits in which it brings to them in the day-to-day management of properties.
Well, let's hope more and more of them go that way, because I think the use of legal action is just putting a further strain on us all, and it's got to be something that we can put an end to. Okay, well, that's great. Thank you very much. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, I was going to say it's best to be collaborative and sustainable in actions going forward, opposed to draining each other's resources.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, I'll make sure there's links to your website. People can contact you, and we can keep the lines of communication open. It sounds almost like marriage guidance, doesn't it? Not that I've ever been through that.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Ben.
Thank you, Insley.